All right, it's September 9th, and it's time for another patch update. And this is going to be a good, bad, and ugly episode. So I'll say right off the bat, the good is going to be my biggest and best pumpkin is still doing really good. We'll check that out towards the end. Yep, I got my helper out here. We'll start off actually with the ugly. So the 2465 Dawson, which is behind me right here, developed a soft spot on the main, and probably the worst possible spot, really close to the stem of the pumpkin. I split it and opened it up, put a fan on it to try and dry it, and it's just a spot just was too far gone. And truthfully, I should have caught it earlier, and I probably could have saved things, but I just didn't catch it early enough, and it was too far gone. So I'll show you what that looks like now. What I think it means is pumpkin has stopped growing more or less. There's a couple of vines that are still connected to it, but I think mostly it's basically going to have stopped growing. But I think I can get it. There's 19 more days to the weigh off, so it isn't going to be as big as it was. It was on track just perfectly to be like last year's like 1,700 pound pumpkin. I think it's going to end up being kind of frozen where it's at now, which is, I don't know, somewhere in that 1,400 pound range. But let me show you the stem. And what I'm going to do today with my helper here is just clear out the vines that aren't connected to it, cut the water to the patch, and basically just put it on cruise control. And hopefully it doesn't get a soft spot or something like that or start rotting. So let's start with looking at that. So here is the pumpkin. It's got a really nice kind of peach orange color. It did fill out quite a bit, and I was getting actually pretty excited because it was still actually growing really well. But I'll show you why that has stopped. So there are the three spots and it was close to the sprinkler, so I should have known better because it was getting a little bit too wet here. I cut open the vines and tried to dry them, and they were just too far gone. The rot had already taken hold by the time I had found them. When I first found them, I thought I had a chance, but it just it didn't work out. So now I basically, here back is dead, and all this plant is not supporting the pumpkin at all. So I'm gonna just cut it out and remove it. I've got this vine, and this vine, which are just, of course this was it. Nope. This was a dead-headed pumpkin, so I got nothing in front of it this way. So just about as worst case scenario as possible. But yeah, it happens. So now it'll be a little easier to see what I was talking about, why this was such a bad spot for this to happen, because the only two secondaries left are those two, and I had deadheaded it, as I mentioned before, so now you can see a little easier. So I've just got this vine, and of course they're like the crappiest little vines that aren't even really buried, but I think it's worth it, and they're kind of dying because I think they're so disconnected from what was the main powerhouse of the vine system. So I don't know, they may just slowly die, but I think it's better to keep the pumpkin connected to a little bit of vine. I had a pumpkin last year, if you recall, that I had to do this with, and it just sort of kept the thing alive. I got to get it to the finish line in 19 days. Other option, I think, is I lift it up and put it in a garage or something like that. But I think my best bet, keep it covered, let it limp along with these couple of vines that are still connected. And yeah, it's a lesson I already have learned, truthfully, and it still caught me again this year. But you know, anywhere where you have a lot of moisture building up, you got to just walk your main vine, especially late in the year, and just make sure. If I had caught this, I think even 12 hours earlier than I did, I think I could have saved it by splitting it and letting it drain. But there was just one section that was just too far gone. All right, let's go look at the next pumpkin. Well, we actually got some rain last night, which is pretty rare for Northern California in September. We got 0.15 inches, which I think actually could be beneficial. But I'm standing here in what I'm calling the bad. This is the 2177 Ford. I've completely let this plant go. This angle just doesn't do justice in the camera here, but like basically this whole plant is like 2 or even 3 layers high with like tertiaries and double-decker growth. Like right there is almost 6 feet high, and that is pretty consistent across like most of the plant. So there's like I said, there's like the original plant with all the original vine pattern, and then there's like 2 layers of secondary or tertiary growth on top. It's pretty unbelievable. The amount of material that I'm going to pull out of this once I tear this plant down is going to be crazy. But this pumpkin is still growing and just gets uglier by the day. Like, look at that weird hump. It's got like, this part right here actually seems solid and big and you know, like a regular pumpkin, and the rest is sort of like deformed, like didn't get a good pollination or whatever. But I did put sulfur powder here. If you were going to a weigh off, which I'm not with this pumpkin, you're not allowed to do this going forward this year, or you have to really clean it off, which is kind of impossible. So don't do this if you're taking your pumpkin to a weigh off. Use something like hydrogen peroxide or alcohol. But this giant split is not into the cavity, and the pumpkin's still growing slowly because it's only getting half of the stem. But yeah, I don't know what this thing's gonna turn out to look like, because it is just, it's so ugly. Although I'm calling it the bad and the good, the bad and the ugly. Well, let's go and see the 2560 Ginger, which is my good. And now we have come to what I'm calling the good. So this is the 2560 Ginger. Check out the condition of the plant. Still looking actually pretty darn good. If I walk to the back of the plant, all the way back there, it's not going to look as good. But overall, I got quite a few good, big, healthy leaves like this, a few humongous leaves like this that should carry me the rest of the season. So I think I'm about 35 days or 34 days away from the weigh off I'm hoping to take this pumpkin to. It's day 90 on this pumpkin today, and the last 20 days have been incredible. It's actually done, in the last 20 days, it's done better than my 2465 from last year. So in the last 10 days, it averaged about 16 pounds a day, between 80 and 90, which was several pounds more than my big one last year. And then between 70 and 80, I did even better. I was in I want to say 25 or 26 a day, which was like 5 or 6 pounds more. So let me go a little closer. It's hard I got so many, I have been so greedy to take leaves away. It's really difficult to navigate around this thing, but I'll get a little closer. There is this monster. It has a heck of a shape. And I don't know if, is this like voided space mean that it's going to go light, or these big rolls and chunks mean that it's got more, pumpkin flesh and less cavity. I really don't know how that's going to translate. So still areas of smooth skin, a few spots where some cantalouping is starting. You can kind of see my feet for reference, but it's real tall and really wide. It was never a particularly long pumpkin, but it's still putting on inches. And it's starting to make the projections look better and better. So I'm actually pretty proud of this thing after such a lackluster start. It just underperformed last year's 2465, and then in the beginning portion of the year, and just now it's really overperforming. So who knows where this thing could end up. I just gotta keep it healthy and let these good looking leaves power us through. One of the things I'm going to do now, since it got rained on last night and today, is I've Got it dried off with a towel, and I'm gonna really let it just dry itself out in the sun. And then I got the fan running on the back at the fan on the main vine over there, and I got this fan here which I'll kick on and just make sure there's no standing water, make sure there's no water pooling anywhere. And then I'll probably do a light hydrogen peroxide on the surface just to make sure that there's no fungal spores or something like that want to start a rot spot. And then because I do have powdery mildew that's been in places, I think after the rain, it can actually kind of promote it a little more. So I probably will do another light spray this evening, just to make sure the powdery mildew doesn't explode. So anyway, sorry I can't get a better angle here, but yeah, this is Beetle Handle, the 2465. It's got about 35 days to go.